Hello and welcome back to the Soberful Podcast. I'm Veronica Valley. Today I am going to be answering a question that has been asked several times, and I wanted to do a whole podcast on this because there's quite a lot to it. So the question is, do I need a sponsor to stay sober? And I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. So first of all, the concept of a sponsor and the word sponsor is really only applicable to 12-step programs. What I have found over the years is AA language has sometimes kind of bled out into the wider kind of sober community, and a lot of things get misunderstood and confused. And I just want to try and clarify that today. Now, this is just my opinion. It's not AA's opinion. It's not anyone else's opinion. This is just my opinion. So I'm going to be talking specifically about sponsorship within the 12 steps. And then I'm going to be talking about the idea of mentorship outside of the 12 steps. So if you think of sobriety, right? The people that are sober, the sober community, all of the different methods of getting sober, of which there are many pathways. If you think of it as it's a really big tent, okay? And the 12 steps are part of that. They're quite a significant part of it, but they're not all of it. They are part of it. And in other parts of the tent are other opinions and modalities and methods and all that kind of stuff. So the reason I want to ask this is this sort of happens in my Facebook group every so often, where people kind of come into my Facebook group and say, like, where do I get a sponsor? Do I need a sponsor? And I'll say, like, well, are you in a 12-step program? No, I just heard I need a sponsor. And that's what I mean about, like, a lot of the language and the kind of practices that are 12-step based have kind of leaked out, and they can be quite confusing. So the idea of sponsorship came really from how AA was formed, right? Bill W. felt cravings to drink and really, really, really wanted to talk to somebody who understood that. That's basically what happened, is he really wanted to talk to someone who understood exactly what that felt like. And that's how he found Dr. Bob. And what started off as a quick chat was like a 4-hour conversation, and they met the next day, and AA was born from that. So that's at its very essence, is sponsorship is somebody who is a member of a 12-step program who really has walked that path, who has just walked that path. And I know that you know what I'm talking about, right? When you meet somebody who has walked that path, it's just such a, like, somebody who gets it, right? Because not everybody gets this, you know? Regular folk, they're not going to get what it feels like. They're probably not going to get, like, they're not going to think your problem is bad enough in a lot of cases. But a big part of it, it's not just the drinking, like the cravings and all that kind of stuff. It's the emotional experience of being, and I'll use their words, alcoholic, or a person who struggles with an alcohol problem, right? Because an alcohol problem shows up on the inside in how we feel and our emotional experiences way earlier than it shows up on the outside in our behavior. So I know for me, when I met people who understood how I felt, it was just tremendous relief flooded in, because I, up until that point, thought I was the only person who felt that way. I didn't think anybody else was having the same experience of life that I was having. So it just, I can't even tell you the relief. And maybe you've experienced that too. For me, it happened when I was sort of in 12-step meetings, not really sure if I was going to stay or I was going to leave. And I heard a man talk about fear and how the reason he drank was to manage his fear. Like, nobody had explained how I felt in that way before. So there's something extremely powerful about meeting someone who just gets it at that kind of level, right? So in many ways, that's what sponsorship is. And that's often why people are attracted to having the sponsors that they have. They meet someone, or they hear their story within the 12 steps is what commonly happens. And they go, oh my God, that's me. That's how I felt. So that sponsorship is still, it's fairly informal in the 12 steps. And there is you can Google this, there is a pamphlet that AA has that answers questions on sponsorship, which is definitely helpful. The reason that AA survives is it remains peer-led and groups are autonomous, right? There's no central kind of group or person telling the meetings across the world what they should do, what they shouldn't do. There's like lots of guidance, but that's the reason for that. Is the idea is we want meetings in as many places as possible. We want a safe room where somebody who's really struggling with alcohol, they can find that. And the best way to do that is to make it more informal and peer-led. Now, that doesn't mean that then it doesn't create challenges, because it does. And those things need to be navigated. So if you are going the 12-step route, I would highly recommend you look for someone to sponsor you. It can be such an incredible experience. So if you are looking for someone to sponsor you within the 12 steps, look for someone who has what you want, right? Look for somebody who is living a life free of alcohol that just looks really attractive to you. One of the phrases that they use is stick with the winners. I think that's good advice, right? Stick with the people who are doing it. There is definitely, you'll hear in the rooms of AA, lots of talk. The question you want to ask yourself is this person walking the walk? So if you are looking for a sponsor, try and see them or meet with them in their kind of day-to-day life, like, meeting for coffee or outside of a meeting, right? This is what I tell people. Look for somebody who's comfortable in their own skin. Look for somebody who is comfortable in their own skin, who likes themselves, whose life just seems to be all right. Not perfect, because nobody's going to be perfect. People have stuff going on. But who isn't, full of resentment or has exchanged one addiction for another, or their behavior outside of is questionable, because that happens a lot. So do some due diligence on that person if you want them to be your sponsor. Now, this bit's really important. You are asking them to sponsor you through the 12 steps. So this is not what they think about sobriety or recovery, right? It's not like a little hodgepodge of like books they've read and things they've put together, right? It's going through the 12 steps. Have they gone through the 12 steps? Do they have experience of the 12 steps? And can they show you what they did and what worked for them? And that is, in its essence, that's what sponsorship is. That's all it is. It is somebody who has a working knowledge of all of those steps, how to hand your life and will over, how to do a 4-step inventory, how to work on changing your character defects, how to make direct amends to people, how to continue to maintain your spiritual condition by continuing to take inventory and make amends through meditation and guidance and through carrying the message to other people. So those are the things that we need to learn how to do, right? That's the spiritual program. And remember, the 12 steps are just ancient spiritual wisdom. You can trace the origins of the 12 steps all the way back to the Gnostic religions that predate Christianity. The spiritual principles in the 12 steps are not original. They are ancient spiritual wisdom is the best way that I can describe it. They have existed in many forms, in many practices. They are so, it's clearly there's a human need for this. There's a human need for a framework, for a structure, for a plan, right? For a way of living, a design for living that really works. That's what it's called in 12-step language. So that's what you want to look for. And you want to ask that person to show them what they did and if they can take you through the same process as quickly as possible. Don't dilly-dally. Honestly, get to it. Don't do a step a year. That's rubbish. Get to it. Do the steps, because you'll feel better. And your sponsor remains someone that you refer to in applying the steps as you begin to grow in sobriety and confidence, because they really are a design for living. So as we navigate our lives and stuff happens and we meet obstacles and challenges and difficulties, the 12 steps are a design for living to get you through whatever you face. So it's not that you go, you do it, you're fixed, off you go. You go, you do the steps, and you continue to apply the principles of the 12 steps for the rest of your life. That's my experience of how it works best. That's personally what I do. And all the people I see who are long-term sober and have done really well, that's what I see they do too. Now, your relationship with your sponsor can certainly evolve over time into friendship, but I want to be clear about what a sponsor is not. They're not your life coach. They're not your guru. They're not your mother. They're not a support worker. They're not a mental health practitioner, and they're not a professional. They're not any of those things. So don't expect that from them. It's not fair. And this is definitely about being able to have people who are able to have appropriate boundaries, right? It is not a sponsor's job to swoop in and fix every area of your life. Now, again, people offer different ways of helping in different circumstances. So, it might be your sponsor picks you up and takes you to a meeting, right? It might be perhaps they also pick you up and take you to a job interview. Perhaps they've got the time to do that and they want to do that. But that's not necessarily what a sponsor does. These relationships are very, very individual. When I sponsor people, I invite people into my home because I want people to see me in my daily life. I want them to check me out. I want them to be sure that I'm the person for them. I want to give them that glimpse of how I interact with my family and how my day runs. But I don't run after people. I'm not going to run after you. I'm not going to try and fix your life. A sponsor, and this is where I see these relationships can get toxic, and I wonder what your experience is. Let me know in the comments below. A sponsor is not your boss. They are not the boss of you. They should not be telling you what to do and what not to do. They can suggest, this is what I did. You can do it or not. It's up to you. And again, there's some helpful things. Some people will say, call me every day. And I want to say that can be really helpful to just get you in the habit of doing it. And breaking down those kind of, lots of people have fear of calling, or first of all, the fear of just making a phone call because we're so used to texting. But calling and saying, I'm struggling, or I'm not having a great day, or whatever. Those things can be really helpful, but none of them are obligatory. You have to do it or you don't have to do it. You can also, if you feel the relationship isn't working out, you can end the relationship. You can be thank you so much for your help. I wouldn't even say I'm looking around for someone better, but I would say thank you so much for your help. I'm going to take a break. There are lots of really, really great, very emotionally well people in the 12-step program. Look for those people. And there are some people that are not so emotionally well and who are on their own journey. And they may not be the people who are in a position to help you at this moment. So I want to say the most important attribute that you can exercise is discernment. Be discerning. Be discerning about who you ask to sponsor you. Do your homework on that. And I would also say once you've done that, go all in, right? If their lives look better, go all in and do whatever it is that they are suggesting, because it's clearly working. If it's based in the 12 steps, if it's based in that ancient spiritual thousands of year old wisdom, then you can rely on it. There's some good suggestions about men sticking with men and women sticking with women. Again, really good suggestions. The reason for that is boundaries. There is some unhealthy behavior that happens because we are unhealthy people when we first come to 12-step programs. We are not emotionally well. And a lot of us are looking for romantic fixes. So if you are a woman, I would definitely say seek out a woman. And if you're a man, and because there's also, when you go through the steps, and we do step 5, which is we really kind of do a thorough inventory about our behavior, I think that it's going to be really helpful to be with someone who, has had those experiences. And it also helps keep everybody safe. It's a way of keeping people safe. But there are exceptions to that. I have a male sponsor. I've had a male sponsor for 23 years. He gave me away when I got married. And he's a very, very safe man. Not all men in the 12 steps are safe. I'm just going to say that. And not all women, to be fair. So we have to be discerning. So know that everybody in the 12 steps, lots of people mean well, lots of people will look out for you, but there's other people who are just not well yet. And God bless them, God love them. Those are people not to ask to sponsor you. Okay, are we clear? For me, the sponsee relationship has been one of the most beautiful experiences in my life. I've really enjoyed that in my 12-step journey. And I really think it's my duty and obligation. And I do that with women in my local community. So don't reach out to me here, because if you live near me, then I'm always open to sponsorship, people who in my local meetings. It's an experience you must not miss. Now, outside of that, so that is sponsorship within the 12-step programs. Outside of that, in this big tent, I want to say having a guide, a mentor, a professional will be really, really helpful to you. If you do not want to go the 12-step route, then seeking out guides, mentors, professionals, there is other, Smart Recovery is another peer-led support group. And I believe they have some kind of mentorship program as well. Women for Sobriety, the Buddhist recovery programs, they all have like the similar principle. And again, that's just ancient spiritual wisdom. The whole kind of seeking out somebody who's a bit, got a bit more knowledge, a bit further down the line. That's just ancient spiritual wisdom. That's all that is. So it does exist in lots of other modalities. And of course, you can also pay for professional help. That's one of the things that I do. That's been my profession for 22, 23 years. And it's completely separate from what I do in the 12 steps. That's really important. It's completely separate. Seeking out somebody who just has more experience, who can help you navigate the bumps and the things that can trip you up, who can help, part of this journey of sobriety, particularly in the first year or so, there is some trudging, right? There is some trudging that's going to happen. There's going to be some tough days. I don't think anyone avoids that. That's when you need other people. That's when you need someone who can tell you it's going to get better. What you're experiencing is really common. Here's some tools that will help you. Here's what will make a difference, right? Having that can be the difference between success and failure. So this whole idea of mentorship is a really, really good one. I think ultimately the message here is we can't do this alone. Why make it harder on yourself? That the connection that we can get, the thing about the sponsor-sponsee relationship or the mentor-mentee relationship is we're vulnerable. We want to create safety so we can be vulnerable and real. And for some of us, it's the first time that we've done that. That was my truth. I just couldn't be vulnerable or real with anybody. I was so scared of showing anybody what was inside of me. And the first time I did that was with a sponsor. And it was life-changing to be heard, to be accepted, to be reassured that how I felt my experiences were really common. Like that changed me. It made me feel so less alone. It made me feel like I could do this, that there was a future possible for me. So that's why these relationships are so vital, I think, to the sobriety journey. And I hope that this has given you a kind of idea of what sponsorship is and what sponsorship isn't. So now I have this. Every time someone asks this in my group, I can post this and say, here, watch this. This will hopefully clarify what sponsorship is and what sponsorship isn't, and whether you need a sponsor to stay sober or get sober. Please let me know what you think in the comments below.
I dreamt that you were twisted through 7 suns of gold, and the gypsy was